The following is rated S for spoilers.
Do you know Desi Nach?
What's Desi Nach?
Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Hangover. My name is Alex.
My name is Graham.
And today we are discussing one of my favorite movies of all time, Rise, Roar, Revolt, otherwise known as RRR, initially releasing in India March 25th of 2022 with an estimated budget of 3.5 billion rupees, which we figured out to translate to about $42 million.
Yeah, USD.
Yep.
Yeah.
So not too bad. Has a worldwide gross of $99.9 million.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, I would go through and name like the directors and the writers and the stars, but I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to pronounce their names. So I'll just put the IMDb link in the show notes if you're really curious. Graham, how you doing this week?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. This one is definitely going to be an interesting episode.
Yeah,
It's going to be fun.
I've been trying to get you to watch this movie.
Yeah, I say you saw it a while ago.
Long time.
Yeah. I actually got to it just today. It was a unit of a movie, to say the least. Very wild, pretty nonstop, truly. But 3 hours? Like 3 hours, like 5 minutes.
3 hours and 7 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, and there's really not like any like credits for the majority of that. I mean, you really were watching like the full like 3 hours and 7 minutes of that movie, more or less. And so it's like, it held my attention though the whole time. So I got to give it that. Like I did not get bored. So
yeah, there's just so much going on. Like every hour is like a whole new like.
Yeah.
You can make it you can make it a 3-episode miniseries.
Like I thought the whole like firefight, like, you know what I'm talking about, like when they first find out, I thought that was like the end. And then we literally paused for something for like a split second. And I was like, wow, we have another hour and a half to go. We literally hit the halfway point. And I was like, what else are we going to do? And dude,
it just
was wrong.
Kept going. It just kept going, but like not in a bad way.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because some movies go on and on and on and they never know when to end. I'm glad this one didn't end every time I thought it was going to, but
right. Yeah. We're not the only ones that liked it. Rotten Tomatoes has a 92% critic score, 94% audience score, an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I cannot say enough about this movie. And so I feel like in my like initial, like my opening statement here, I need to like just keep it brief and say I really liked it. Cause there's just so much there that is going on. And I feel like the best way to at least help me break this down a little simpler without rambling, is to go over a review that I saw on Letterboxd that I think just described this movie perfectly.
Okay.
And the review was just this: RRR is the best action movie of the year, the best historical drama of the year, the best foreign film of the year, the best musical of the year. And those are just like, big categories. If you want to break it down even more, you can be like, it's the best buddy cop movie of the year. It's the best like romance movie of the year. Like it's the best everything of this year, at least. Yeah. So I don't know. I figure we should just, break down all those little categories.
Definitely.
And I feel like that would like, kind of cover most of the stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Best action movie of the year. Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
I would definitely say the bloodiest, goriest for sure. Like I don't mind if there's blood and stuff, but there were just some things that were
I wouldn't even necessarily say it was like, it's not like a slasher. Like there's not just like blood for the sake of there being like blood or gore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, here's the thing. There are punches that people can take where they're not spitting out all their teeth, spitting out all their blood, flying 40, 50 feet just across the desert in the middle of the... Like, there were some things they were a little dramatic, but it was worth it. It was great. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it was a lot. That's the only way I can really break things down. It was a lot. Best action film? I don't know what I have to...
I think one of the things that I loved about the movie, and I almost made it like the whole like topic of the episode, was like the spectacle of it all.
Yeah.
I feel like today, like spectacle, right, is all about like who's going to be the next movie, right? Like Endgame is this big spectacle because you have all of these characters going together.
Right.
The only really memorable parts of Multiverse of Madness was the Illuminati showing up because of this big spectacle. Right. Like, oh, we have these cameos, look. And it's kind of, that's not really exciting if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
But this movie just takes everything to the extreme. And there's so many times where things are happening. I'm just like, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like when Rom just like picks up a torch and punches a tiger in the face.
Oh my gosh.
Or when Beam just like grabs a cheetah and just tosses him at another guy. Like
literally stops a motorcycle, flips it, picks it up, and keeps beating people. I was like, what?
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Or like they're just like looking at each other from like a mile away, do a couple hand signals, and then they just know. They just have this perfect plan, figure it out.
Literally, we were sitting there watching it. I was like, there's no chance. The first time they ever talked or they ever interacted with each other. Yeah, he's up on the bridge. He's down on like the shoreline. He's like, four rope. And I'm like,
for our audio listeners, Graham just
a bunch of hand signals. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. And they both just automatically knew. And of course, everyone else around him is like, what's going on? What are they going to do? Are they going to do this? Are they going to save it? Are they going to make it happen?
Yeah.
No one knows what's going on, but they know exactly what's going on.
I mean, honestly, like, I mean, the whole animal fight sequence was just incredible. But
At the beginning?
No, not at the beginning. Like whenever they break into the palace with all the animals, because like they kept building up to it, and like you can tell they're planning something.
Yeah.
That was not at all what I thought that was going to be.
One of those deer were straight up green.
Yeah.
It was literally green. I don't know. Are there green deer?
Sure.
I don't know, dude. I was like, I don't know.
That was an incredible sequence.
Yeah.
But also like the climax sequence when you just have Rom like riding on Beam's shoulders, and just like firing bullets, and then just like tosses it down to Beam to reload.
Yeah,
keep going. Like it was so ridiculous.
Yes,
but it was so freaking cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They just turned off, I guess, wounds and just all physical impairment, I guess, towards the end there, because just no matter what happened, they were just up and going, and they were going.
Well, they never got like shot or anything.
No, but homie got towards the end. Remember when he's about to get like hung, and they're about to take the girl in front of him, like with the king and everything, and he gets like thrown out there. He literally gets like stabbed by a tree, gets off that, takes out 30, 40 men on his own, still going, just getting beat. Same thing with the mob at the very, very beginning, like easily 4,000 to 5,000 men, angry, raging, a full on mob, and homie just stomps through them all like nothing with like a stick. And I was like, bro, he would get choked out. Hey, homie got hit over the head with a rock. Yep. And he just kept going. No brain damage, nothing at all. Yeah. Just skip that part.
I've got a couple things on that. So number one, like with that scene in particular, I thought that was the most brilliant way to introduce us to like this world where everything is just massive spectacle. Like, because I'm assuming that's when you texted me. He texted me today and was like, dude, what is this movie? And I'm assuming that was a scene that you texted me in.
It was earlier than that. It was literally when the little girl gets like yeeted, and then the mom is like trying to like beg for her daughter back, stops in front of this car, and the king is in. The king's like, don't waste a bullet on this chick, whatever. And the dude walks over, grabs like a literal tree, like branch, and just clocks her over the head. Just gone. She's just blood on the screen, just gone, just laying down. But also, I guess she wasn't dead. She literally was like, okay at the end.
No.
Okay.
They did show her, they showed her moving around.
I thought she was just twitching because like she was dead. I thought that was like,
well, if you're dead, you can't twitch because
some
you're
dead bodies twitch. Or when you get clocked over the head and you're like brain dead and you're like, your body's still, I don't know. But still, it was that I watched and I was like, because you told me, you're like musical, like comedy, hilarious, like action.
Okay, I did not mention half of those things. I said it's kind of a musical at the end. So you clearly weren't listening to me.
No, something. But I was just like waiting for that to happen. The first few minutes in, I was like, what are we watching, dude?
Yeah, I thought that was just a brilliant way to like introduce us to how like what this world was going to be. Like they're just superheroes basically.
Yeah. Just 40, 80 foot little sprint jumps, just crossing over hundreds of people.
Just casually.
Yeah.
But also like, I feel like the intensity of that, like showing those extreme moments where like how there's no way you could survive that. Like, I think that is a really good way of showing visually how motivated and passionate they are about what they're doing, particularly with Rom, like in that opening scene, like he's going to do whatever it takes, even if it means getting clocked across the head with a rock in the middle of an angry mob.
Right.
Like he's so passionate that he's going to keep going and he'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Or to save Beam because he feels so passionate about his mistake. Like, I feel like that's one of the things that makes this movie so great was it's easy to say, I'm really passionate about this. And it's really easy to understand why they would be so upset. But the fact that they were able to make it look really freaking awesome.
Oh, it looks great.
But B, like, also, like, with it just being really cool action sequences, being able to use those to build the character and to show how passionate they are. Even though that's not necessarily, like, an initial thought that you're probably having in those moments. It's just, like, it's an unconscious thing where you just realize, like, it just clicks.
Yeah, because, I mean, even after that first scene, you watch Ram just go off, and, you know, he comes back, and, because, one, he goes and chases the guy down.
Yes, he does.
Then
but he was told to bring him back alive.
Back also, and I was like, my gosh, he just did it. Yeah, he did that. And even when he comes back, and then even like the general was like, I'm terrified of this guy. I'm genuinely scared. And dude just went right back to his post, just straight up and firm. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, he's definitely like a badass. Like, he just pulled through. So
yes,
yeah, no, it was a dope introduction for sure.
Yes. Any other thoughts on action movies? I mean, I can go on and on just about saying this.
I don't know what I would
like,
go.
This was awesome. This thing was awesome. This thing was awesome. Like, it was just, I think the climax where Ram is like just a archer god and Beam is just plowing through people.
Right.
Like, I think that might be basically once they start breaking him out of prison, like that whole sequence is my favorite action sequence of all time.
Yes.
It's not the best objectively. Like, there's more practical stuff that's better, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, this is just so fun to watch.
Oh, it really was. Yeah. I say because when I'm watching there, I'm not thinking of every little tiny detail or anything like that. I'm honestly just so enthralled. I'm just like, this is. It's
not like a John Wick where I want to see every single like interaction that John Wick makes with every person he's fighting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see that. I just want to watch Beam just clock a guy like halfway across the forest because, you know,
why not? Exactly.
It was awesome.
It was great.
Yeah, I need to cut myself off before we just do an hour talking about this scene was awesome, and I really like this part. Best historical drama. Do you watch like any historical like drama type things?
No.
For me, like I love stories based on real things. Like, I love biopics, love historical dramas.
See, I was really curious because like I know like you mentioned to me like he was like, you know, part of like the British Army, like British military. He's like a spy, and you know that's one thing. And one dude's like the like shepherd leader of like his tribe thing. That's like his other part when you were kind of telling me about it. And so I expected some of that stuff in there, and I expected some like I was like I didn't know if this is historically accurate, like what this is about. And so I literally saw the first disclaimer that was like, please take everything with a grain of salt. Like, nothing should be taken like as something else, but if it is, sorry, just get past it. Like, so, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So here's why. So obviously, you know, there was revolution, and everything like that. That was the whole thing. So Beam and Ramaraja are both actual historical revolutionaries.
Whoa.
But the best comparison that like the best like American comparison to make is this movie is like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer.
Sick.
Like, I've never seen that movie, but you know, just knowing
Lincoln was
like
real,
what that
but
is.
he was not a vampire slayer.
Yes, they took
you.
a guy with a beard and a top hat, called him Abraham Lincoln, and then he did stuff that didn't. So like that's the best comparison.
I like that.
That's why they made that. So like there are lots of historical figures.
Okay.
That last musical sequence that just ends it like randomly, where I don't know if it's like this in the actual version, but like in the dubbed version, like none of the voices are even remotely the actual people singing.
I was gonna say it was tragic.
It was so distracting, even though the song was a freaking bop, which we'll get to.
Everything was an absolute banger, dude. That was insane. The music went hard.
In that last sequence, what that was it was showing like actual revolution, like the actual figures a part of this revolution. That were important.
Sick.
But yeah, I
thought it was about the Avatar. Just because every time they would show another face, and it's like fire, pure fire, water, fancy water, and I was like air. I was like, what are we? What? I was like, I just didn't know. And the intro scenes too. I was like, that's why I texted you too at that point. And I was like, is this like about some dope? But
so you might have missed the whole point of that.
I probably did.
Which I want to talk about.
Okay.
So like, the whole idea is that these two are opposites.
Yeah,
and the way that they
I got that whole like fire water.
Yes, and the way that they played with that was so cool.
No, I liked it a lot.
I say we were doing the action, but I got to go back to it. Like the way that they used fire, using fire in action is pretty easy, but they kept it like new and creative, like with fireworks or whatever. But then the way they used water creatively,
like in that last part with spear and just like him in the
yeah, like the way that they used water was like the way they were able to use that.
The fountain hoses,
yes, was so cool. But yeah, like Beam uses a spear, Rama uses a bow and arrow. Yeah. Those are, I mean, they're both weapons. They're both projectiles technically, but like those are kind of opposites. Like when you use a bow to shoot, the other you can just throw, where you don't have to throw. Like the way that they kept constantly using like opposites throughout the entire film, or comparing the two in the songs, like was just super cool. And and they didn't just always. I mean, Fire and Water's the kind of that's like the
basic,
the symbolic of like opposition.
Yeah, they'll mix.
Yeah, right. But like the way that they kept finding like different things to compare them to that were opposite, like the horse or the motorcycle, or
right. Every time they got on those, I was like, "That's." It
was just they were just bros,
dude, and it was so I know. Like the whole montage, it was like a literal 3-4 minute montage of just the two of them loving life. Just it was great,
and I loved how they did that. But okay, I'm gonna ahead myself. We'll get there. We'll get there in a second. Or we can just jump ahead to it. Best musical.
You tell me.
Best musical of the year. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if I've seen it.
I can't think of any major musicals that came out this year. Yeah. So sure, why not?
The music was banging.
Every song was so good.
Yeah.
For a movie that isn't, it's not a musical.
No.
Like that's not its goal. It's just, that's kind of how from what I understand, that's how like Bollywood Indian movies work. Is just you kind of throw that stuff in there. But the way that they use music in this movie to progress the story was just fantastic.
The literal dance battle was.
So I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching it. I'm just hanging out, watching the movie, enjoying myself, and like Ram just starts banging on the plate, and I couldn't sit still. Like I was jamming. Like I just my head couldn't stop nodding. Like I was just like, it was a bop. I loved it. I could just listen to that like in the car.
Yeah, feeling the same way.
Yeah. But back to what I was alluding to here a second ago. The way they use like in that friendship montage, right? Like, if you watched it without sound, it'd be like, oh, cool. These guys are like the bestest of friends there ever were.
Right.
And it's all nice. But then they're contrasting that with the music, which is all about these two are opposites and they're hunting each other down. How is this going to end?
Yeah.
And it's just, hey, this is all great, right? But don't forget, this can't end well, right? And I loved how they used the music to completely contrast what we were seeing visually. And while I loved watching them just, hang out, being bros, in the back of your mind, you're like, wait, they look so happy. It's all, this is all going to go terribly wrong, isn't it? And
I was so worried about it. It does to a point. And I was so worried too. Cause he helps him get his girl, sets him up. They're just going back.
Dude, Ram is the greatest wingman of all time.
I know. And dude, great guy. He literally could have easily taken that girl. He could have had her. No problem.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Easy.
He lost the dance battle.
He
on purpose.
On purpose. I was gonna say he gave that away.
He threw nails in the street so her car would break down.
I literally know what he was doing. He's like, yeah, just start driving. Just picks up a handful. I was like,
nice.
I got it. Yeah. Dude came in clutch.
Yes. Or even the reason I say it's not a musical is because I feel like for it to be a musical, music has to be a part of the language of the world, right? So no one really acknowledges the dancing or the singing. And it was interesting how they used it here, where it's definitely used like a musical in many cases, but when Beam is singing his thing while he's being flogged. That's a very musical moment, but he was actually singing in the world. It was just giving a performance, and that wasn't a normal thing. And I liked how they used it to kind of open Ram's eyes, and he was like, I want to give everyone weapons, but Beam's voice turned everyone into weapons, which was I don't know, it's just the power of music.
Dude, music goes hard.
And the score in this movie was fantastic.
It was great.
The themes were just, the music was top tier.
Yeah.
I would give it best musical of the year for sure.
Okay.
I think one of the bigger things though is one of the ones that's more practical to win is best foreign film of the year. Now, do you watch any foreign films at all?
Dude, unless you've told me, probably not. I can't recall any. Do you know? I mean, have we?
I know that you like Parasite, which is a Korean film.
Parasite was sick. Yeah, yes. I did like that movie a lot. Okay, that was great. But that was like what, 2 years ago? That was 2019.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the last movie I saw in theaters before COVID, bro.
What a way to go.
Honestly, yeah. It was kind of a dope.
The last one I saw was 1917, which was also
pretty solid. Not a bad way to go out. Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't seen not that I can think of. I'm sure I have. I haven't seen a ton of movies that came out this year. This is the first
foreign films. I was going to say
foreign films this year. I haven't seen a single movie this year. It's been rough. We're talking about the Jewish New Year because that just
Gotcha.
That just started. Happened.
Just happened. Gotcha.
Totally
cool.
I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, best foreign film. I've been making like a really big effort to watch more foreign films, but I feel like typically I end up watching like Korean films, like Parasite. Yeah. Drive My Car last year was a Best Picture nominee. And there's some where like it's foreign film, like there's some French films that I've seen or whatever, but they're close enough to like American stuff that doesn't feel very different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love watching foreign films because it's fun to see how everyone does things a little differently.
For sure.
This is the first Indian film I've seen, or South Asian film,
I think,
in general, that I've ever
seen.
Same
on my part. Yeah.
If they are even remotely like this, which I've heard that they are, I need to start doing some research.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to
find
see
like the
more.
Top 5. Just do binge. Yeah.
Yes, I need to see more of these because this is just like what their movies are like. Like this is a normal thing.
That's wild.
They always do, but for us, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. It's the craziest thing we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. So
did this? I'm curious. Did this go straight to Netflix?
No.
Okay. I just didn't know the history like between like. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know all of it.
I didn't know if you did.
I do know that it did have an opening weekend in the U.S. the week of March 25th.
Dope. Okay.
Because I saw those box office numbers. Okay. But yeah, I don't know specifically how it all kind of came about. I tried to find the Netflix watch hours because Netflix is what really made this movie popular in the States.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And the only number I could find was that in mid-June it had 45 million hours watched, which is a
solid amount.
Yeah, just a couple people saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, To be honest, I could be a million of those because I could.
Is that counted for like those who sat through the whole thing? Which like here's the thing again, like I feel like if anyone started
reason
this,
Netflix uses the hours watched model is so that if you watch 5 minutes. That
added 5 minutes to the count.
Doesn't get a view, right? So it's only counting actual time watched.
Okay.
So that means that people physically watch the movie 45 million hours in total.
Dang.
Which it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, this is like I don't know, a lot of people call this like the biggest blockbuster that you've never heard of. Which I'm hesitant to call because we said that about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then like 2 weeks later it blew up.
I've had so many people actually ask me about this movie, and they're like, I'm never gonna, like my wife, for example, was like, I'm never gonna be able to talk to anyone about this because like who else is ever gonna see this? And I was like, dude, I was like, give it a minute. Like I would not be surprised if this.
To watch it.
Yeah, no, I would have no problem sharing this out there. Here's the weird thing though, and I don't know if this is gonna be a shot on my side or what.
Okay.
If I were to rate this, like I rate every movie, with my what I watched it again scale, I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
It was great. I absolutely loved it. I really did. I don't think this ranks though for me. For my movies.
Is it just because of the length or is it?
Oh no, dude, I love long. Yeah, if you give me a movie that's like anytime a movie releases a runtime, I'm like the closest you can get to 3. The most content you can give me, I'm all here for. I will sit at a theater for 4 or 5 hours, dude. Yeah, no problem. Give me back-to-back releases, easy, like things like that. So no, it's definitely not that time slot, especially when it's something like this that I can watch on Netflix. Where if I got to pause, give me some food, I got to pause, go do something real quick, come back to it. Yeah, that's even easier. I just don't know. Like it was great overall, but yeah, I don't know. It just didn't like do it for me.
Interesting.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's fine
because I just know you rated this like.
Oh, this is a 5 out of 5 stars for me.
I was gonna say this is like one of your top movies that you've. Yeah.
There's really, I don't even want to call them flaws. But I want to ask you this and see what your thoughts are.
Okay.
Because we talked a little bit about spectacle of this movie,
Definitely.
right? Was the spectacle of everything a little distracting to you? Just in the sense of like, okay, this guy's picked up a burning torch and then punched a tiger in the face after jumping for like a football field length to do so. And then the tiger went flying. And also the tiger looks like he was made with like 90s CG technology. Yeah. Like, did that pull you out of the experience at all?
Honestly, no, just because of everything that happened beforehand.
Right.
Like, honestly, like that's like the first few times it happened, I was like it just clicked for me. This is the movie I'm watching. It's not like that was the one thing they tried out that was like a little weird compared to everything else I'm going to watch. I figured this is the movie that I'm about to watch. Which honestly, getting, like I said, not being like super critical about every little thing and like just genuinely being able like to enjoy it and like come from a sense of like, what the hell? Like,
yep.
I think that's what made me enjoy it the most. I don't think it threw me off, but again, and like, it also might just, it's clearly not like a traditional movie I've seen before. I've never seen anything like this.
Not a traditional American movie.
Exactly. Not at all. Right. Yes. From something I'm used to watching. Right. So, it was definitely an experience for sure.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say it was necessarily distracting. I think for most people it can be. I know there was one part that we kind of thought was a little slow. I think it gave the whole backstory of stuff. There was one part that we were just like, it could have.
It did. Yeah,
because it gave you like so much, and then it cuts like to a solid chunk of backstory, which was definitely needed, and I liked it honestly.
But it was so cool because he was just like plowing down. This British officer.
You watch your dad get clocked. You watch your mom get shot. Your brother get shot. The girl you're about to marry, even though you're like 8, is like hopefully okay.
No, they were just like they just liked each other. Then they were like, yeah, you're probably gonna get married.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what I'm just saying. But like all of them in like legit death or danger situations, and homie's just sitting here taking orders like load, aim, shoot, like just crying. Mom is dead 5 feet behind you. Like, that's intense. I was sitting there watching.
Like, that's how you make fire. Like,
no, exactly. Yeah, dude had a fire burning inside them. Like he was ready for revenge. He was ready for.
And that goes like back to like the opposites too of like we didn't really get his backstory, but we can see like with the way like when he killed the tiger and he's like, I'm sorry, I need you. Like you're not going to go to waste. Like he was obviously like his strength and everything in him is more from like a nature perspective.
Yes.
Whereas Ram is more of a nurture.
Exactly.
Like it's just, again, like that goes back to just the brilliance of how they found ways to use opposites.
Yeah.
To, I don't know, just make this whole dynamic so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like how did these two become friends?
And that's the thing, it works so well. Literally so well. Yeah. I literally loved him just through the whole movie. And then they like kind of like switch on each other. And I was just like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. But
to
also
watch them like, because you know it has to happen at some point. And like when it finally, they just start beating the crap out of each other, like, it's terrible. Or whenever Ram goes through all of this pain and torture to save Beam, but Beam doesn't know what's going on, and like they give you a shock where you're like, oh no, did Beam just shove a log through,
I thought he did. We thought he did.
Face?
We
Like,
thought that was it. I thought that was it.
Like I didn't do it this time, of course, but like the first time I watched it, like I remember just being like, my heart just stopped. I was like, oh, this is so tragic.
Because you see him like hit him, and I was like, oh, he's gonna kill him, and I was like, no, he's not. He stopped, and I was like, okay, he did stop. And as I was saying that, you see the shot just go down real hard, and I was like, oh, he did not stop. He really just went for it.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. This movie almost makes me want to go watch it makes me like want to read Shakespeare, because I feel like this is basically just Shakespeare. Like just the complete A, it's long. B, just the dramatization of everything. Yeah. And the whole concept is so Shakespearean of like,
no, I get that.
These two guys become the best of friends, not realizing that they're supposed to be killing each other, and they do, but then they realize they're both confused.
That's the thing though, is like Beam like in the palace fight scene, and Ram is like, okay, you're the guy I'm supposed to kill and bring in alive or dead, so I'm going to go off on you. And Beam's like, hey, like, stop doing this. Like, don't do this. I'm just trying to get my girl. Like, let me get this girl. Let me leave. I'll get out of here. He's like, let me just get out of here. And he just wouldn't stop. It's like, in his defense, I was like, honestly, like, Boyd's just kind of like self-defense himself now. So, like, I was definitely on, like, his side of things the whole time. And also, like, I'm a guy, like, anytime.
But at that point, too, we don't know what Ram is doing. Like, we don't know what his mission is.
Yeah, we do.
we don't really know that we don't know he's a revolutionary yet. All we know is that he's trying to become a special officer for some reason. We don't realize the stakes
because he's trying to hunt the shepherd dude that he got like warned about before.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to. But we don't that's not a noble. That's not a noble cause. He's just fighting for these tyrants who are taking over his country. Right.
So you can ship guns out.
Yeah. So I disagree with you there. And in fact, again, going back to opposites, like Beam's whole thing is he has to save one girl from one village, whereas that's the biggest deal in the world. And so the first half of the movie, it's like, we got to save this girl because I mean we saw the beginning. The story's tragic,
brutal.
But then we learn Ram's story, and you're like, but he's trying to save the entire country.
Yeah,
and like all of a sudden, like you're on Beam's side at the start,
right?
But then you get that super long backstory, and you're like, wait, hold on, actually, like Beam's cause is noble, but like Ram is literally trying to save all of his people, as opposed to Beam who's just trying to save one.
Yeah. Which I called it too, you know, so like after that whole thing, it gives you all the backstory stuff. And then like, hey, Beam and the girl are like, they ran out, they got away, and they're with, what's his like fiance girl's name? Ram's girl.
Starts with an S. I know. Whatever.
It's like Sheeta or something. Fiance. Yeah, something.
Sheeta, I think.
Yeah, Sheeta, yeah. And they're like in the thing, and then they meet. And I literally called too, because like when she made up the whole smallpox thing, I was like, this girl. I was like, watch it. And
I don't think you were paying very close attention because they showed her face like earlier.
Yeah.
So there wasn't the call.
I wouldn't have connected it. I didn't connect it from that. I know they show their face beforehand too, but like once before and then like, it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to not play on your phone during these movies.
I wasn't on my phone during this.
You were texting me the entire time.
Only in the beginning. Literally in the first, I sent you like 2 texts in the beginning because I was not, did not have the, I was a little skeptical, dude. Don't. To be fair. I was. I feel like anyone watching this is gonna have they're gonna be in that halfway state where it's like, do I give this my full attention?
Sure.
Do I give it 2 minutes and then pull out my phone? So I was kind of in that mix.
Yeah.
But no, after like the first 5 minutes, because even like I said, like my wife was not gonna watch this with me. She watched the first like 4 minutes and she's like, what the hell? She sits down. She's like, how long is this? I was like, 3 hours. She's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, yeah, you're in for a ride.
Let's buckle up.
And like I said, it was worth the watch 100%. It was great.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any final thoughts on RRR that we're not going to talk about later? I'm gonna assume probably not.
No, everyone needs to see this movie. Everyone needs to see the movie.
That's the wrong button.
Get on Netflix. Do what you need to do. I'm not a big Netflix pusher, but like
Graham hates Netflix. So if he's telling you to get on Netflix, this movie must be pretty dang good.
It is pretty freaking dang great.
I mean, I can't confirm it is.
It is fantastic.
It is a nearly perfect movie. And we're going to talk not so much about this movie in particular. I mean, one of the things that makes this movie so perfect is it's just like a universal story. It's just a perfect storytelling all the way around. But it's a foreign film. There's a lot of things going on here. Mm-hmm. I'm having trouble like conveying all my thoughts because there's so many things that I think makes this a universal story.
That's why we have our next segment.
That's why we have our next segment.
Exactly.
It's crazy how that works. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back momentarily.
Dude, I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun, and it's not as difficult as I thought it would be.
No, not at all. Like Anchor has made it especially easy when it comes to like actually getting our podcast out on the air. Because when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on all the listening platforms. So easy getting it over to Spotify, getting it to Apple, wherever you're trying to get your podcast to. Yeah,
I think we're on like 7 platforms just through Anchor, and not even just the distribution, but even just creating the podcast. Like there's so many recording and editing tools within it, so you can record, edit, add music in, sound effects, all sorts of things directly through Anchor, and it is free.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's incredible. So if you would like to start your own podcast, just like ours, go to anchor.fm on your desktop device, or you can go on to your mobile app store and download the Anchor app. Welcome back. We are discussing RRR and universal storytelling.
Yeah.
Graham, we kind of touched on it a little bit beforehand in our earlier segment.
Yes.
So you don't really have any experience with foreign films at all?
No, honestly, no. And I was trying to like really think about it because I feel like with it being a foreign movie, like I might have seen it. Just probably just didn't hold much to it.
Sure.
I know, like you mentioned, Parasite. Yeah, like I saw Parasite. I really did. I enjoyed it. Me personally, I say if you met me like 4 or 5 years ago, you would never see subtitles on my TV, bro.
Yeah.
No chance. I ain't trying to read that. I'm low-key dyslexic as crap. So no chance I'm trying to catch up with that on the screen while watching. It's not happening for me. But that's how like a lot of family and friends actually right now watch all their stuff. So if I'm with people, like that's all I'm watching. So I've kind of like adapted to it, which is fine. And honestly, I think Parasite would have been one of my first foreign films that I like was reading through like the whole thing pretty much. And it wasn't as bad as I thought. I know you mentioned this film was a little different as well, which I watched it with no English. Apparently there's 2 ways to watch this movie.
There's a lot of ways
there's
to
several
watch this
ways,
movie.
I guess, to watch it.
Yes.
Which would make a lot of sense compared to how I listened to
I'm
watch.
honestly surprised you were able to like fully comprehend.
Well, I remember you said some of the
stuff
stuff wasn't in English. So like when it started off and I was like reading subtitles, I just didn't expect any difference. I was like, oh, if there is some English, great. And then there wasn't any. So I was just like, yeah, but I was already like, like probably 2 hours into it before I really was like, should I check this? And I was like, it does not matter at this point. It might have, but like I was still, like I said, able to read on, catch up. I understood what was going on. So it didn't affect hardly anything at all for me. But
yeah, there's a lot of very angry thoughts I have about the way that like foreign films are treated in America.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, like Hollywood is that's American. It's like like cinema is just like a very just American thing.
definitely.
As I feel like as a whole, maybe that's just a very American thing to say. But
Could be.
I don't know. Like, I feel like this is like the film capital of the world, but it doesn't mean that other places don't also make fantastic films.
Yeah.
Parasite being a great example.
Yeah.
It being the first foreign film to win Best Picture.
was gonna say, right.
Drive My Car is a Japanese film. Was nominated for Best Picture. If RRR does not get any nominations for any sort of like Best Picture, I will riot. But quite frankly, it's the Oscars, so it probably won't get. So
I was gonna say, yeah.
My lawyer told me to tell you that was just a joke. I won't actually riot
For legal purposes.
Yes, but like to what you were saying, like there's just so many just stupid things that I don't understand with how like foreign films are treated.
Yeah.
One of them is with the way that this one was streamed on Netflix. Initially, the film was like officially made with 4 different languages.
Wow.
I don't want to say it was made with 4 different languages. I should rephrase that. So on Disney Plus Hotstar, I guess it's a
What is that?
I guess it's a South Asian version of Disney Plus.
Sick.
I don't fully understand all of this. But I'm going to do my best to try and explain it. And if you're curious, I'll link this article from HindustanTimes.com. Sounds totally legit. There's lots of ads on it, so I'm going to take their word for everything. So initially, this film was released in the Telugu language, and on Disney Plus Hotstar, it had Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, and Kannada versions of the film. I probably butchered those names, but whatever. Netflix, however, streamed a Hindi dub, and that is like the most accurate version of it. Why they did this, nobody knows. Not even the director knows, because he was asked about it. He was talking with the Russo brothers on like a conversations thing with Netflix, and the question was, are you surprised by the insane reception from the West? Like, this is not a very Western movie at all.
Right.
And his response, first of all, I'm actually really angry with Netflix because they took only the Hindi version, not the rest of the 4. So that is, I have a complaint against them. Like, first thing I had to say was, this isn't the way I made my movie. And I remember the first time I watched it, I noticed that there was like, it was very clearly dubbed, which I thought was weird. So I looked at it and I saw that, like, for whatever reason, it's being, the default is Spanish Portuguese. Even though when you click on Netflix, American Netflix's RRR, it says RRR Hindi.
Hindi.
But for some reason, it puts it in Portuguese as the default.
I mean, that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually.
No, not at all.
Especially for you, because like for you, there was zero English in the entire movie.
Right.
Which kind of defeats half the purpose, because the whole dynamic of Jenny and Bream's relationship is that they speak two different languages. Yeah. But if you're streaming the movie in one language, that doesn't make any sense, because they're speaking. If you speak Portuguese and you're just listening to it, it's like, what are you talking about? I don't understand you. You're saying the same words.
Honestly,
like, that doesn't work.
Well,
for you,
I can't understand any.
Yeah. So like for you had to read it regardless. So they could have still technically been speaking two languages,
but it did
and you wouldn't
sound
know
like
the
a
difference.
Solid amount of
But I'm saying
Spanish side of thing. I guess because never mind.
And that's the other thing. Like this, it's very clearly an Indian film, and you know enough Spanish that like you can kind of pick up on some stuff. Like, wow, that sounds Spanish. Like,
man, I kind of feel dumb right now that didn't click for me until like kind of a while through the movie.
I mean, yeah, I feel like if you don't actually know Spanish, so yeah, it would take you a little bit, but like that was still something that clicked in your head of this sounds kind of Spanish, which is not how this film was intended to be made at all.
No.
But to kind of not be so angry about the whole thing, the director did say, second thing is, yes, I was surprised with the reception from the West. Like it's still a fantastic movie regardless.
Which what we've learned so far, movie's fantastic. Netflix sucks.
That
point, Graham.
I definitely walked into that one. But the director did continue a good. And this is kind of this phrase is what I think. Kind of where I got the inspiration for this whole segment. And he said, "A good story is a good story for everyone." I just didn't think I could make films for Western sensibilities. I never believed myself. So when it came out on Netflix, people started watching it, and the word of mouth started spreading, and the critics started giving out good reviews of that. Yes, I was really, really surprised. And yes, it wouldn't have been possible without Netflix. For that, I have a great regard for them. So regardless of Netflix, like kind of screwing the movie, because I feel like because it is a foreign film and they were trying to make it more accessible to more people, I'll give them that credit. But the thing that really hit home for me was a good story is a good story for everyone.
Yeah.
Which I think this movie is it's a pretty good story.
Dude, it was great.
Yes.
It was great. It's definitely one of those where like, no matter how you're listening or watching, you're going to pick up on what's going on. You're going to be able to follow through.
Right.
'Cause we had no problem. And like I said, it is all over the place, man. You're jumping flashbacks. You're jumping one person to the other person to just everything going on. And it's just wild.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to follow. It really is.
Yes. Like, I don't know, if you turned this into a drinking game, take a shot, because if we go back to opposites, like with what you're saying, like I would sum all of what you just said into like, this movie is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like just all of this
extremely ridiculous. Just absolutely.
The animals just look
terrible.
I feel like Jurassic Park looks better than what the animals looked like in here. I don't know. It's
100%.
Just like, and I just didn't care. But like, it was, despite how ridiculous it was and how unrealistic it was still one of the most relatable movies I have ever seen. Like, just in terms of like Beam's relationship with Jenny and like trying to like that, there's this whole like love thing going on, or like the friendships between Beam and Rom, like that's just general, like everyone has this best bro that they have, right? And then like things happen because people are different as like they graduate high school or whatever. Like I remember as a kid, people always saying like, "Oh, you're never gonna be friends with your friends in like middle school," and I was like, "No, that's ridiculous." And then,
bro, we never met anyone else.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
For us, that's a little different. But like, there are so many people that I went to high school with that I will probably never speak to ever again.
Yeah, no,
not that like there's any bad blood, but like it's just we go in different directions.
It is
but
what
then,
it is.
Yeah, but then sometimes people kind of go in different directions, but they try to make it work, and then like it just things go bad, and like I don't know, like I just feel like despite how just outrageous this movie is, there's a lot of relatability in it.
Definitely. I get that. At first, when you said that, I was just like, I don't know how, like, please tell me how you relate to this. But no, I get that. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like despite how insane everything is, I feel like there's a lot of like relatability, but also it's a good like message as well of like a friendship, fighting for what you believe in. Yeah. Like not just giving up when
things get tough. No, dude went to the,
like you were saying, like everyone would suffer a fatal incident, and they would just get back up and keep on going. Like, you know, like it's nothing. Oh, stabbed by a tree branch, like through the chest. That's fine. Beam literally takes like a claw and like stabs Rom in the heart.
Yeah, boy with full Wolverine just going through and he's just like, oh, why'd you do that? I'm like, what are you doing? You're not like Deadpool. You're not going to regen. Like, what are you doing? How are you doing?
I don't know about you, but like, I finished this movie and I'm like fired up. Like, yeah, like I'm going to go like do something. I don't know. Like,
let's go start a revolution.
I'm not going to say that on something going on the internet, but yeah, sure. No. You can just go start a revolution. Just make sure you print off enough pamphlets. So here's another thing that's been bugging me recently.
What's up?
And this is going to sound like a very terrible question. And I do want to preface the fact that this is a very like clickbaity, attention grabbing question. But the question I have is, do some stories even need to be told? So like one of the things that's been bothering me recently, and with this week's episode in particular, because we like to plan ahead, figure out what we're going to talk about,
right?
And for a long time, Blonde was on the calendar.
Yes.
And I did have some reservations about like this is very clearly going to be about like way women are treated in Hollywood and stuff. That was kind of the vibe I was getting. Should two like dudes be talking about that? Probably not. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but I did look at some reviews to kind of to see like, is this something we want to tackle?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it's just a lot of people are telling the same stories, the same terrible stories of Marilyn Monroe and like her tragic past, and it's not really villainizing or glorifying her. It's just exposing all the worst parts of this person who did have a great life and who did some cool things. Yes, there's some tragedies, but like it was focused on all of that and it just exposing all the worst aspects of that.
Dang.
And not just in general, but again, because that story's been told so many times because people love to hate. So another option we were going to talk about was The Greatest Beer Run Ever.
Yeah.
Which is essentially the whole plot of that movie is Zac Efron realizing that the war in Vietnam was bad, because
what
we haven't already figured out that the war in Vietnam was bad. Like
that war was bad. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, are you being serious?
No.
Yeah, like it was just I don't need to see that movie in 2022. I'm sorry. Like maybe if it was made in like I don't know during Vietnam, that would be a different story. But like
that'd be ballsy if they just dropped something like that while that's going on around like right after that period. It would be too soon.
Like it was a solid movie. I could definitely talk about it quite a bit, but it's like one of the many consistent reviews I saw was like, why is this being made? There's so many stories to be told. Why are we spending time on this one?
Yeah. That's fair.
Which side note, just because I'm really excited about this and I really want this to happen more.
Yeah.
I saw The Greatest Beer Run Ever in theaters, which I would never knowingly pay to see that movie in theaters because it's on Apple TV and I knew it wasn't gonna be that great. But like Regal did a thing where for $5, like they released the movie a few days early,
like a mystery movie, right?
Yes, but they didn't tell you what the title of it was. And walking into that movie was like just waiting for it to start was the coolest experience ever because you have like we're sitting there and like we're talking like trying to figure out like okay like if this is like a horror movie. May not like there were some like options where like this might be a little too intense, but then there was like I was really thinking it was gonna be Amsterdam. Like I was gonna be like really early. There was like people behind us and they thought it was gonna be like different things. Like people were all chattering like what's this movie gonna be?
Yeah.
And like looking around the theater, like you can just see all sorts of people who would
range
probably never be in the same room. You have like kids, you have like college students, you have like old retired couples, like all like sorts of different people from different walks of life were walked into the same movie theater because they didn't know what they were going to see. And I think, something like The Greatest Beer Run Ever is that's a fine movie, like all the way around. So like anyone could watch that and probably have fun with it. But like, I don't know. That was a really cool experience seeing it in theaters.
I'm excited for them to do that again.
Yeah, I really hope they keep doing it. They sent me a survey and they were like, "What did you think of this?" And I was just like, "Please do it again.
Keep more, just more.
I need more." Yeah, that was a total side tangent on where we were going. But yeah, like there's just some stuff like that that's being made right now where I'm like, it doesn't need to be made. There's a trailer. I forget what the movie's called. And I can't blame them too much because they didn't necessarily know this was going to happen. But like we got Top Gun Maverick this year. Yeah. And then there's a trailer for basically the exact same movie with literally the same guy in it about naval aviators. And it's just like, okay.
That's unfortunate.
Like I'm sure they're going to take a different take on it and it's going to be very different and maybe it'll be good. I don't know. But it's just one of those things where it's like,
yeah.
We just witnessed like peak of what that type of movie can be, and you're not gonna make it up there. I'm not saying don't try. There may be a story there. I don't want to say too much about it, but I'm just like it's been on my mind a lot recently. Like, do some stories even like need to be told?
Yes.
Okay.
I think more or less for when it's a more kind of like wild, in some cases, impractical story. And it's just something that's made, and a lot of people are like, why is this made? It's truly more from like the director, producer, the story writing group, whoever's putting it together. It is more for their purpose than like an audience's. Like more or less, some people just need to get things out. You know, they make content, they create content for audiences and stuff. Fair. But a lot of times, like, dude, F what they think. Like some people make a movie and they love the movie and that's their movie, that's their baby, and they're proud of it.
Sure.
And I think, honestly, with people having more of a mindset where they're not like trying to make the next, climactic end game Marvel set string of movies, I just think, when it's an original movie like this and they get taken so well. I mean, dude, like recently, like this Vengeance, is that it? Yeah, with we went.
Novak?
Yes, yeah, that one. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like just some of these, like I think this year, honestly, is probably the most I have put more of a focus into like original, just concept, not tied into everything type of movies. And it really is it's a different experience. I'm not necessarily going to say it's a better experience, but it's definitely something that I'm like glad I have because it gives you those other stories. And that's like the thing. It's like, if I had nothing else but, say if everyone's like, oh man, I'm not going to make the next string of Marvel movies. I'm not going to get 40 plus movies out the door. I'm not even going to try it. Like, dude, then we would just be stuck with Marvel movies. I wouldn't be complaining. Don't get me wrong. But I do think, like, with these other stories being told, it's another genre. It's another take. I mean, this is action, music. It's everything a lot of people are going to like. Some people aren't going to like it. They can stick with what they've got. But I do think, like, share your story. Have all stories told. I don't know.
I agree with that for sure. Like, yes, there's some stuff that is redundant, like with Vietnam is bad or rehashing the same just terrible stories. Another one that I just thought of, there's another Jeffrey Dahmer miniseries.
Yeah, I was about to say that, dude. And like it actually got like a lot of hate, this new one, because this is literally I think either third or fourth.
Yeah, we just keep doing
rendition of Jeffrey Dahmer. Why is this like people are like, one, literal murderer, serial killer, absolute lunatic. Like, why are we giving so much light to this like area? And there were a lot of like the like victims' families. Like this happened in 80s, right? Timeline. Right. Yeah. Those people are still around. Like those are the victims' families, parents, siblings, like they're still here in today's time. And so just seeing that this killer and this experience over and over again, like,
and a lot of times it's glorified too. Like, I don't know. It's just
like, it's just a weird,
Like I don't ever want to say, don't like stop telling stories. Like that's where things go wrong and bad stuff happens when you start like censoring that stuff. But also like, I feel like there are just an infinite possibility of stories.
Yeah.
And I wish that we would do more original stuff. Like even with Marvel, like you were saying, like if we only ever got Marvel movies, quite frankly, I think the only reason I'm not burnt out on Marvel is because there's other stuff coming out that I can watch too. But even Marvel is like realizing they have to branch out and they have to do something different. She-Hulk is the perfect example of that. Like it's not, other than the fact that it's has the Marvel logo at the beginning, like there is no real connection to
like in terms
of like what it is physically. Like it's not really an action show at all. Like the quote unquote action sequences are short and random and not like an integral part of the story. Like they're realizing
like, with that one of the episodes, literally like I don't even know what number it was, but like, and we'll probably touch on this more when we actually talk about it, but like one of the episodes literally like starts with her just being like, oh, this is just like a random wedding episode. You never thought you'd be watching it, but that's what this is. And like, that's really all it was. That was fine. That was kind of dope.
Like everyone's realizing like Marvel, I think, is doing a really good job at pushing, like we need to do more original stuff, but in a time where we're just rehashing the same kind of stuff. We're in this massive reboot legacy sequel culture. I wish that there was like more new stuff and like new stories being told from perspectives that aren't always being told.
Right.
So I don't know. That's something that's been on my mind, and we're going to tie this all together. This relates to RRR because my next question is this the most relatable? Not relatable. Is this the most original film you've ever seen? Because I know for me, when I first saw it, I could not compare it to anything, really.
I mean, honestly, here's the thing. I can't compare it to anything because it is its own thing. That's the only way I can place it. I feel like that's weird because you can't compare an original film to another original film because they're both original. I mean, in a sense, but I don't know. I would say, I mean, yeah, this definitely ranks up there with just it's. I mean, yeah, it literally has no tie to anything else.
Right. Well, I mean, and like to what you're saying though, too, like John Wick and Jason Bourne are two independent things,
right?
But you can still compare the way that John Wick does action to the way that Bourne does action, right? Or like the way that Marvel does things versus the way that DC does things. Like they're
this is 100% so original.
They're two separate things, but like there's like you can compare things. But I can't think of a single movie that I've ever seen where like action is handled the way it is. Like I said, like nowadays the trend with action is to show every little punch and how everything is working. Yeah. And here it's just like there's an arrow flies out of nowhere and you're like, okay, yeah, cool. Someone shot that and it was awesome and I'm okay with it.
And it hit first try.
And it was like a perfect, like went through like the stream that Beam was drinking from and like it was.
Which I didn't even catch. I thought there was like a bug or something literally because like you see it for like a solid second just in that coming closer and I was like, is something about to get him? Or something, and then something like, came closer, and I was like, "Oh shoot!"
Yeah, or like Rom shoots a bullet, and then like the girl falls over, and Beam just happens to be jumping in the air, and it hit. Like it's just,
oh my goodness, yeah.
It's also so ridiculous, but like it was freaking awesome,
so good.
Like it just kind of went against the trend. It did kind of remind me of The Matrix, and in this like sense of like
every time a tiger jumped, he's just
like the slow motion, like close stuff. Like they're definitely referencing and like paying homage to different things, but like it was still done in a new way.
Yeah, for sure.
One of like the best, I don't know what to call this, quotes, phrases, whatever, from someone like they were talking about like it's okay to like copy, quote unquote, copy off of someone else's work as long as you're bringing something new to the table. And I feel like that like this was a perfect example of that. Like like there's no truly original thought out there, but like the way that they took other things and just used it in a different way and morphed it so much that you almost don't even recognize that it's been done before was crazy to me.
Yeah, I like that.
And also the fact that when I describe this movie, I have to say it's a historical foreign action musical. Those four things don't typically go together.
No. You can't put that title on anything else.
No.
As far as I'm aware.
I mean, action musical in general, like, I mean, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark is the biggest Broadway flop of all time. Like, action musicals just don't work.
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Let me tell you after the show.
Let's go.
Yeah, like I don't know. I can't think of a single like action musical. Yeah, because it's just like that. Those two things don't typically mix. But here we have this movie, and it was one of the best. I'm not saying best musicals, but it's some of the best musical sequences I've ever seen. Yeah, like the whole dance sequence was just so cool.
It was nuts. Like,
put this in perspective. Like, imagine Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger having a dance battle in the middle of one of their movies. Like, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. Like, just picturing that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And it would never work here in America, but for some reason that India's just figured it out. And as a fan of musicals and of action movies and of historical dramas,
it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it worked out fantastically. And that's why it's one of, honestly, I would put this at my number 3 favorite movie of all time.
Whoa.
Yep. I would rank it that high. Favorite, not objectively the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie. I could watch this every day for the rest of my life and never get bored.
I say I wouldn't watch it again, but I think I need to watch it again.
I think you need to watch it again
English.
with a more better, because that's Kramer.
A more
better dub of it,
Yeah.
or the original if you can find it. I would love to like see the actual original version.
Yeah, and hear their voices actually.
Yes.
Coming from their mouths, that would be.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graham, do you have any final thoughts on RRR or Universal storytelling?
I don't. Overall storytelling, I mean, just keep it coming. Like I said, the original movies, especially like I said this year, I have enjoyed getting so many more different takes. That's just not you're stringing the line action or
Right.
you know, like Marvel movie. No disses on that. Just the only way I can describe it. So keep bringing on. Yeah, anything Universal, like I said, it brings us all together one way or another. Everyone can relate from it, so why not?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Go back to what Graham said earlier. If you don't have Netflix, pay for a subscription.
Or borrow an account.
Netflix,
someone with it.
Netflix no longer believes in that, Graham.
I know. Even though they tweeted back in like 2017, they were like, sharing is caring, and like 2 passwords, but forget about that.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You've been listening to the Popcorn Hangover. We've been discussing RRR, Rise, Roar, Revolt. I'm Alex. That is Graham. What are your thoughts on RRR? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Will you watch it again, unlike Graham? Let us know over on all the things, Instagram, TikTok, patreon.com/thepopcornhangover. Next week, we're going to go through another historical drama, and it's a story that may have actually happened. So that is your tease for next week. That's all I've got for you.
Peace.